Welcome to the GreyAtom YouTube channel. Here you'll get everything from a webinar, student diary, data science Fridays where your questions are answered. Basically, everything that you need to get yourself upskilled in data sciences. Hit the subscribe button, click on the bell icon, have a look at the videos, and if you find something interesting, don't forget to like it. Follow us socially, and we will be there always serving you the best.
Hello everyone. Our speaker for today is Anuj. And Anuj is a solutions architect working with Sapient and has over 10 years of working experience in the area of data science. Now, Anuj has worked in various domains like finance, banking, food industry, e-commerce, as well as e-commerce industry, yes. And he holds a master's degree in computer applications from YMCA. Now, his interest areas lies in intelligent search engines, text mining, statistical and predictive models. Now, at Sapient, he is helping his clients to build recommender systems, personalization, pattern recognition, web crawling, building competitive intelligence systems, and fraud detection. Now, these are some exciting areas I'm sure a lot of people would want to learn about. Now, Anuj has an extensive experience in machine learning and using Python and R for building predictive models and data analysis. He has delivered many projects with his clients using machine learning as well as statistical based modeling. So I will just hand it over to him, and he will help you with the agenda, as well as he will also would like to keep it interactive, and I would appreciate if everybody could use the chat option wisely, as well as I will be sharing a feedback form during the session as well as the end. Please fill in your thoughts as to how was the session and how did you like the entire training that Anuj has provided us today. So let's begin. Thank you. You can take it over, Anuj.
Hello guys, hope you can hear me first. So I'm just sharing my screen. So if all set, I think I can start. Varsha, can you just confirm screen and my voice is
Yes,
okay here?
I think they will use the chat option, Anuj. So they are saying Anuj all clear. Yes, they can see it.
All right, cool. Thank you guys. First of all, thank you for joining this on Sunday. And Varsha has already gave introduction about myself. So I've been majorly focusing on the area of natural language processing. I've been working into NLP since now 10, 11 years. And I've seen actually the industry moving a lot, especially in this data science AI whole as a domain. And because I've seen it work, I've been working like since a long time. So what I have observed is lately, like in last probably like 2-3 years, the one of the major interest which is coming out in the industry is in the area of chatbots. So and by the way, I mean, we can keep this session interactive. You guys can talk, ask about any questions, any doubt regarding NLP or regarding anything actually. So so now that's why actually like my last probably 3 or 4 projects with different clients, majorly involving a lot of chatbots thing. Now, chatbot is a very vague term, but before getting into all those nitty-gritties, let me just set up the agenda. So I just wanna talk first of all from the perspective of a like industry expert in the area of NLP, data science, AI, and I'm gonna cover one or couple of projects in the domain of chatbots, and I will try to do it through interactive way wherein I'll try to build it in front of you guys, explaining you the basic concepts, and uh, also maybe I'll use a notebook to showcase you how you can code and build this chatbot. So now and then of course, I mean, I'm happy to take any questions or any doubts within the session. Maybe I'll just open the chat window. Okay, that's fine. So now now the thing that I was talking about was chatbot are coming as a very important requirement in the industry, and a lot of clients are asking to have their chatbots. So now you can think a chatbot as a system or as a virtual assistant or agent which can literally talk to you and help you to answer your queries. Maybe one of the example I'll give you, and this is very I mean, this chatbot is a quite a reality thing, although in AI space a lot of things are not real as of now, but chatbot is one of the reality which we have already started seeing in a lot of websites, especially where you need customer care help. You can have these chatbots. But the thing is, these, I mean, you are already seeing a lot of chatbots like Siri in your Apple phones, and also so they can literally talk to you. If you'll say, "Can you open YouTube or can you play this video for me?" Alexa is doing a lot of buzz in this space. But how do you build it and how do you take it to next level? For example, you can think of anything actually. For example, you want to book a flight, and you have a system wherein you can say, hey, can you just book a flight for me? And it should be able to understand the context and the minimum requirement in order to do that action. For example, it will ask from which location you want to book your flight, and maybe you'll say from Delhi, and then it will ask you for which location, and then it will ask you on which date, what kind of class you are looking for. Then maybe it will look into some of the website, maybe Make My Trip or Yatra or whatever, and it will go there and it will search for flights for your given input, and then it will come up with the options, and it can tell you back, I found these many options, which one you want to book. Then you'll say maybe you can book this flight, and it will book for you, and then maybe it can ask, shall I email you detail and whatever. So just think it an agent, a virtual assistant that can literally do work for you. So this is what the current state of chatbot exists in the world. Of course, they are like not very open ended. You cannot have a single bot which can do each and everything. They are not that intelligent, but we are trying to put some bit of intelligence wherein it can understand our language, and also it can react according to it. If any information is missing, it can ask you back, and so on. Of course, it also need a way to go and find that information. For example, booking a flight, it needs some API, some way to book a ticket. If you are looking for maybe finding a restaurant, it needs to go into some Zomato or whatever website, and it need to look into their menu, this and that, and should come back to you. That's how it's been evolved for now. And I'll talk the major component and how does it work and all details. Okay, so now let's so before anything, let me just show you a small, very small demo of how does it look like. Maybe I just put together this a small chatbot which can check for stock market prices for you. Okay, so and then of course you can make it more elegant, more detailed, and it can do more things for you. For example, if I'll say hi, maybe I just refresh it. Okay, I'll just restart my bot and let it start from the beginning. Okay, so meanwhile, this is coming up. The whole concept of one of the another landscape that is very debatable in industry, especially uh, what kind of technology stack we should use, we should go with. Now, whenever, especially AI and data science and all, what is happening is there are a lot of companies, Microsoft, Google, IBM, every company is coming up with their own cloud, their own services, their own technologies. But the thing is, what we prefer and what we should be using. Now, just understand one of the challenges. uh, Maybe if you want to start with something like open source, you don't want to get into something like ready-made models or ready-made system. The problem with that is, first of all, it is already it's a kind of black box for you. You don't know, like nowadays, even for machine learning, there are a lot of tools available wherein you just import your data, click train, and your model is ready. You don't know what is happening inside it. So I have chosen the technology stack which we call Rasa, which is an open source technology stack specially built for chatbots. Although it's not new, because under the hood it is all text processing, but it is still very specialized for chatbots. Maybe I'll just start this bot. So if I say hi, it should understand what exactly I'm saying. And it's not hard coded. You can say hi, hello, namaste, whatever you want to call. Okay, you can train it even to understand Telugu, Tamil, or whatever language. You can just say, and it should be able to understand what exactly you are saying here. So maybe if I'll say, I am looking for closing price today. So it will understand it actually. What are you asking for? If you are looking for restaurant, if you are looking for stock market, if you are looking for flight, or if you are looking for buying furniture, whatever actually. And in order to fulfill any requirement, it needs some fillers, some entities, or some slots. So those needs to be fulfilled. These can be optional, these can be mandatory. So for example, in order to check the closing price, open price, or whatever, it at least bare minimum need to know the ticker name. Maybe it is MSFT. So it will use some API, go back and find out the, say, current price for Microsoft is this much. Okay, so that's how these been used. I mean, of course, you can extend it to very deep level thing, and it can do a lot of things for you. For example, it can book a restaurant table for you. It will also get you the prices. It can also get you the menu. It can do a lot of things for you. Okay, now coming back, I'll just quickly talk about some of the concepts, and then maybe I'll directly get into the code part of it so that we can get like more visibility there. Okay, so now okay, so now first of all, let's try to understand what is a chatbot and how does it work. So chatbot is essentially, first of all, you need few things actually. Of course, you need a messaging channel. I just showed you this demo which was built on a web page. But mostly these chatbots are generally being used on things like Slack, Facebook, Facebook Messenger. You can have a bot in your Facebook like friend list. You can have a chat bot there which can talk to you. Similarly, in Slack, you can have a bot which can literally talk to you and give you answer. And you can have a Skype. So all those messaging channels, basically those are called messaging channels, can have a bot there. So that's definitely is first one of the requirement. Second thing is NLP. NLP is the core here, because if you see, even if it is voice, speech, or whatever, it is still a language thing. So that language processing is the part. I mean, NLP is one of the very important I always say one of the very important aspect under the AI hood. So any AI you can categorize into different things, but NLP is one of the direction wherein you can go into AI. Then you need the whole bunch of AI thing. Now AI thing can be, maybe you need some word knowledge, like as a human, when I'm asking you a question, what is the weather today? So of course you need to know location, this and that, but you also need to know some sort of general knowledge, some sort of uh, maybe a knowledge base or some sort of learning that we learn over time. For example, if you have to predict something, you'll think of a lot of things. How's the cloud looking? How's the moisture looking? Was it raining yesterday? So what's the time? What's the location? So you have actually a general knowledge or knowledge base. So that kind of intelligence always come through some sort of intelligent system. That's what we are also trying to build here. So I'll just put it like a very broadly under AI hood. So just combining all of these things, you can have a chatbot there. Now, just moving ahead, actually, suppose, I mean, of course, this is a very theoretical thing. You can use chatbot. So that's how I feel. Chatbots are gonna maybe replace a lot of customer care jobs. Instead of customer care jobs, you can have a bot which will talk to you, and you won't even realize you talking to Uber person, and it's a bot. There is no person there, and it can literally talk to you. Okay, so this is the technology stack that I have chosen here. So we call it, I mean, it's Rasa, and Rasa has very importantly two important technology stacks. One is called Rasa NLU, and other is Rasa Core. So let's get a bit deeper into the Rasa NLU first. Maybe I'll just talk about this slide. Okay, so this is important actually. So for anything, in order to, okay, so I think I'll just check questions here. Uh, Let me just see where I can find the questions.
Hi, Anuj, can you see the chat option? There should be something called as a chat, just a window. That a
Sure.
window will pop.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, great. And you might want to enter full screen.
Okay. How much of language structure dependency is there in the request? For example, specific way of writing. Right. I mean, I think we are definitely going to cover it because I am actually at the same point right now. There is no specific way. That's the, otherwise it won't be a chatbot. You cannot have like a very specific way of writing things. So for example, and then I'll just explain you why you don't need any language, I mean writing structure. For example, you have this question, what is the closing price of MSFT? Okay, so now you can ask this question, because the problem with language is NLP, the one of the major challenge in NLP is the ambiguity problem. Language is very ambiguous. One statement is meaning different for you and one statement is altogether different for me. What is the closing price of MSFT? You can simply ask, can you tell me what how stock market is gonna close today for Microsoft? Okay, MSFT is a Microsoft basically. So one question can be asked by like thousands of different ways. So the way to understand the language, and in order to answer this question, you need to basically, I mean, bot need to basically understand the language. What are you asking? So in order to understand the language, there is a concept of NLU, we call it NLU, natural language understanding. There is a concept of intent and entities. Now, this is one of the very important concept for any chatbot. And I'll again repeat, this is the current state of chatbots, because I always think how the industry is moving and how it will be after some years. But the current, I mean, if I just tell you a bit brief history, earlier it used to be very structured thing like Siri and all, it works on keywords. If it found like word YouTube, it needs to open YouTube. It doesn't know, I mean, if will say, can you close my YouTube, or what's new on the YouTube, it won't understand that. All it understand is the keyword. Then it's very specific structure thing. That's how it was maybe a couple of years back. But now things are changing. It try to understand the language. For example, here you need intent. Intent is like, what is the intention of user? If you are saying hi, so your intention is just to greet the bot. If you are asking some question, maybe what is the closing price, then your intention is to, you are basically asking the closing price. Okay, then, and then for every intent there will be certain entities, some fillers. For example, Microsoft is the example here. So now if your question is, I am looking for Mexican restaurants in the center of town, so Rasa NLU, and for I mean, there is a concept of Rasa NLU. From Microsoft you have API.ai, from Google you have Dialogflow. There are a lot of such systems available in the market. You guys can play with all of them, I mean any of them. So now all it does is it convert your question into a structured JSON response. For example, when you're asking this question, it will tell your intent is restaurant search and your entities are Mexican and your location is center. Okay. Of course, there is no magic. You need to define what all intents you can have, what all entities you can have. But eventually, the way to understand your language, the way to process your NLU, it needs to classify your statement into a intent, and it need to extract entities. Okay, so now before making anything here else, I'll just directly take you to one of the code thing, and I will just show you how does it work. Maybe now I'll take the better example for say restaurant search, which can have more information. So I'll just open this file here and let's try to understand this. So any machine learning, any data science, any AI, most of them either supervised or unsupervised. For supervised, unsupervised is something where even you don't know what you are expecting. But for supervised, you always need to guide machine. It's like, just treat it as like a kid. If it's a kid, you need to tell, you need to make it learn. So for make it learn, you have to tell, this is a chair, this is a light, this is a tube. So you have to tell all those things. Similarly here, we are just telling it. If we are telling your intent is affirm is like it's a yes, then you will get to see these kind of things. If user is saying yes, yeah, and all. Okay, maybe I'll just, guys, is this screen is visible here or no? Not sure if you guys are able to read it. Okay, so all I was saying here is, say you have, maybe I'll just get into a better intent. Okay, so this is the intent I'm talking about, say inform. Okay, so inform is like, I am informing my bot, you can call it anything, you can call it a restaurant search, for example. Okay, and I need to tell, look here, how about Asian cuisine, Asian Oriental cuisine. Now it's like you have to, this whole statement is called one utterance, user, what user is speaking. So you have to tell actually one statement here and ask and then tell bot what all entities are there, and what is the intent of that statement. So for example, if you are saying, I am looking, I'm just selecting this very specifically. I am looking for, maybe I'll just see. Sorry, I need to get into like zoom in. Okay, so for example, you have a statement here, one user utterance, this one. I am looking for an expensive restaurant in the East Town. So this statement, I'm telling my board, this is a type of inform, and here my price, expensive word is my price, and East is my location. Similarly, you can just tell a lot of such things. And then I have classified my price already into moderate, low, and high. So it always understand this. So this is my training data. So I need to give maybe like 100, 200, 300 sample statements, so that I can tell bot in this statement, this is my restaurant search statement, and in this statement, or rather I'll again use the right word, which is utterance, and in this utterance my entities are this is my location, this is my cuisine, this is my number of people I'm looking for, or maybe this is my price range. So that's how you create your training data. So, and then the process to create it is totally manual. You need to understand your requirement. For example, you want to have a bot which can maybe open a bank account for you, then you need to think about certain way a user can ask for, I'm looking for opening a new bank account. I don't have a bank account. Can you help me to open one? So you need to just think of certain ways. Of course, those needs to be, doesn't need to be like comprehensive. I mean, you can just have maybe like 100 to 100 statements, and all you need to tell is what is the intention here, and what all entities, fillers or slots here that you require. For example, opening a bank, you need to know maybe his name, address, PAN card, this and that. So whatever you need, those are going to be your entities. So now the job of this Rasa NLU with which I've started is to classify, because you can have 10 different type of utterances. It can be a greet, it can be okay, yes, sure, kind of affirm, or it can be a deny statement, no, this is not I'm looking for, or maybe it's a kind of buy statement, or it's a kind of opening a bank, or it's kind of finding a restaurant, or it kind of booking a table. So you can have different type of statements. So that type is called intent, and those entities which are required to do that intent is called entities. So that concept of intent and entities is the important one here for building any chatbot. So the current state, so I'll again get back to my PPT. So the current state of any chatbot system is to understand, take a user utterance, parse it using NLP techniques, using NLP libraries, classify that statement into one of those existing intents, and extract those entities. So this is the current state or current way of doing chatbot. Once you understood, oh, okay, he's asking for restaurant search and these are the entities, then maybe you can just stop here and you can have an API or a database. Uh, for example, if I know, say I have like 10 different databases, one is restaurant search, one is maybe car service database, or maybe I have a database for maybe a courier service. So you can have different databases, and once I know user is looking for maybe courier service, then I need to know his address, and I need to know his budget, and I need to know the weight of the courier, and I can just do a select query, select courier companies where this and this and this, then, and you'll get the results, and you can show it to him. So basically you can think it is like, suppose you have 10 different databases, and then you know user intention, user what he's looking for, you know his inputs. You can make a select query, you can make a API call, you can do a search on maybe a job portal or whatever, and you can bring him information. So that's how even you can build a chatbot if you are able to parse your user utterance correctly. And of course, it doesn't need to be structured at all. It can be anything. Okay. So, all right. So I'll take a pause. Maybe if you guys have any question or anything to mention here, maybe we can talk about it. Okay. So okay. So there are questions. Yeah, I think that's a good feedback. I should read while I'm talking. Okay, so why Rasa is better than Google or with AI? The reason I ask is there any supposedly bank chatbots which did not seem to understand some questions asked. All right, guys. So let me just take these questions first. Okay, so I have a slide here, and I can talk with my personal experience as well. Okay, so let me tell you my personal story first. Uh, I've been like using maybe Rasa mostly, or sometime I'm using Dialogflow as well. So that's not the point. Let me take an example of that bank opening a bank statement. Opening a bank account, or rather, you have a chatbot which is say which can talk to you and can give you a lot of information. For example, I have a chatbot where I want to know my bank balance. The balance, or I want to maybe transfer some amount, or other kind of operations, what a customer service executive in a bank do. Now just imagine there is a bot, and if you know, he's not a real human, and it's a bot. Okay, and you're asking, hey, can you just transfer some amount to XYZ person, and it will say, okay, what is your account number? You'll tell, and maybe it will ask for, okay, I'm sending an OTP, can you tell it to me? Can you trust that kind of bot? It's difficult actually, and I'll tell you the problem with Google Dialogflow, Wit, and API.ai. All these bots are cloud based. What does it mean? You don't have any model, you don't have any system in your bank, in your laptop, or in your office. The actual system sits somewhere in US or somewhere other. You don't know actually. When you are sending your information, that information goes to cloud, because this bot and this machine learning machine learning model is not something you guys are training. It's Google's trained model. So it can very well use your secured information, or you won't trust it actually. So I'm majorly right now working with investment banks, and those banks are making huge transactions in they are making huge investment in different sectors. Of course they don't want to give that information outside, or they don't want to reveal it to their competitors. There can be in different regions. So there are always many situations, especially with banks. They don't want any solution which should be on the cloud. They want everything which needs to be within their firewall. That information is not going to flow outside of their environment. And that's the reason, every bank is building their own softwares, even if there can be standard software, but no, they don't want to use those things. Okay, so that is definitely one of the reason. And of course, being a developer, I always prefer open source technology stack because it's a white box. You know what is going on. If there is a there is any problem, you know how to fix it. But in Google and Bit, you don't know actually what's going on there. So it's totally a black box for you. Then in few ways, of course, it is good because Dialogflow and all are like ready-made. You don't need to do anything. It's just available. You can just put your data and start using it. You don't need to have any infrastructure, any machine, any training. Everything is done by them. So it depends actually on the scenario to scenario basis. Okay, so and then this question from Chandra, like some of the bank chatbots doesn't seems to be working. As I told, like these systems are not very open-ended. These are trained for very specific things, and most of these banks are also using Dialogflow and I mean these kind of systems. Now just to distinguish here actually little bit, chatbots can be of different types. One is question answering system. I won't call it chatbot. So beauty of the chatbot is it understand the context. It has a memory and it remember what it has what you have responded, what all information is remaining. So it takes step by step things. So it actually can literally do conversation with you. On other hand, question answering system is a system where you're asking a question and you're getting an answer. It is not going to ask you follow-up questions. So that's the difference. So for example, a lot of websites have FAQ thing. So you can have a keyword matching or other kind of system which can compare and get you the better answer. But it won't be having that conversation capability. But here, chatbot also need a memory. It needs to remember what it has asked for. Okay. Are these slides? I'll share the code and everything. No worries about that. Okay. Okay. So let's get back to the system. I mean the thing. Okay. So I've talked about this. So let's try to get into some code now. And so I've prepared a couple of notebooks and I can share those as well. So let's try to understand, let's get into this code and all. And the way I have created this is like, it will also install each and everything for you. So even you don't need to install anything. So we are using Rasa Core and Rasa NLU. I'll talk about Rasa Core in a bit, but yeah, Rasa NLU it install. And now there are some Python packages. One of the packages, if you guys know, is Spacey, which is very famous these days. Spacey is coming up with a lot of for natural language understanding. You need a lot of knowledge as well. So we call it word embeddings and all. So it comes with all those embeddings and all. So this is the embedding we call English Core Web. So it just downloading things here, and we are just making it like for English language. It can be of course for different languages. So this is all installation and all. So now I'm just like importing these things, NLU, Core and Spacey to begin with, and now in order to train my model, because this is whole Rasa based thing, which is having already built up code. You can of course get into the code if you want to change the library packages and all, but the way we work, I mean as a data science practitioners, rather than calling data scientist, but as a practitioners we uses those sklearn and all those packages wherein you have a method to maybe invoke decision tree or random forest algorithm, and you can just pass on your parameters and it will train your model. Similarly here I'm just importing these packages, and then all I need to pass on is the training data. It's the same file that I just showed you uh, here, which is having your old training data. Training data require classification of sentences, of utterances. These are all greet messages for me. So you can call any of these and it will understand. Of course, you can even add your namaste or whatever actually, and it will start taking them as a greet message. So you can have all these kind of messages. So suppose you have deny thing, so you can say no, no, or hey, this is not I'm looking for. So you can have actually your own way of writing things here. So this is your training data for NLU, and along with it, because it's an open source tech stack, you can have different kind of training techniques. So what does that mean basically? So maybe I'll just show you this file. So now the way NLU works, so although we are not supposed to talk much about NLP related details, but we can talk about it maybe sometime again. But just to understand, how does it work? For example, let me talk about first of all classification. Okay, so you need to, we are using sklearn here. Sklearn again is a Python package for classification of sentences. So you can think it as a any classification problem like sentiment analysis or anything. So you have like 10 different classes and you have provided training data, and it uses it will use some sort of vectorizer to convert your sentences into embeddings, and then it will classify your sentences based on of course some keywords, some weightage of those words, or maybe it will use some embeddings, word to vec and all, and then just classify it. So that is your classification. So it's a two-step process within NLU, and we are just defining what kind of packages we want to use here. You can if you'll just go to the documentation of Rasa NLU, it supports a lot of different kind of pipelines. You can use TensorFlow embedding, you can use your own embedding. So you can actually different kind of techniques, tools to classify. So that's the beauty of Rasa. It's not something in itself, it is just leveraging all the NLP packages available in the market. For example, spacing. Okay, now so, and then the other thing is extracting entities. So again, I'll just cover that piece, why it doesn't need any structure, because it does not look for exact sentences. Okay, so the way human understand language. Okay, if you are saying, hey, I'm going to a river bank. Okay, or you are saying I'm going to a bank for withdraw some money. So if the way the word bank here is, one is financial bank and another is river bank, how does how does machine, how does first of all human understand that? Okay, so because we always use context, the surrounded words, the previous word, the next word. So based on those kind of words, you always try to intuit whether it's a river bank or it's a financial bank, because there are terms like money, withdraw, finance. Then of course it's a financial bank. If there are words like mud or tree or maybe river or water, then it's a, chances are like it's a other kind of bank. And of course there is a high chances people are mostly talking about financial bank rather than river bank, based on geography and this and that. Anyways, so the thing is the context. Okay, find maybe this, let's say west. Okay, even if instead of west you would had Delhi, or you would had Ramnagar, which is not even a location, I don't know, or whatever, but the way language has been written in the something part of town. Okay, so that context are used as a features, like previous word, next word, and then based over those words. For example, I'll just give you an example. If there is a word like in and then some entity, then there is very high probability that will be a location or maybe a organization. Okay, it cannot be a person name, for at least. Okay, it cannot be, I mean, maybe there can be person name, but chance probability is very less. So that's how you build your features. previous word, next word. And this configuration or Spacey basically comes with the pre-trained model of an entity extraction, and it uses that model here. And using that contextual information, it try to extract the entities that we are looking for. So we just need to define this pipeline. We are not building this pipeline, but of course, if you want to build your own pipeline, you can build your own classifier, you can build your own entity extractor system NER, and you can use it here. Let me just look into if there is any questions. Okay, so YAML requirement.txt and YAML, I mean, I wouldn't say there is any comparison, but this is more of a configuration file. Don't think it as a requirement file. This is more of a configuration file. How do you want to configure your chatbot? It's nothing to do with the requirement kind of things. It is requirement is, I mean, in a way it's kind of configuration, but there is, you have like key value pairs. This is the key and this is the value. So this is more or less kind of configuration. All the requirement also in a way kind of configuration file. Okay, so now let's get back to our notebook. So all you need to pass on here is your training data and your configuration file, what kind of configuration you are going to use. Okay, and then I have trained my model here, and then I'm persisting my model in a directory. Okay, so now as soon as I'll just hit run here, it will read my NLU file, it will read my configuration for training thing, and it will start training. Okay, so yeah, so I think if you have any more questions, meanwhile, we can talk about it. It's getting trained meanwhile. So guys, I mean, you can definitely talk about or ask any such, I mean, other than this question. If you are not following me, I'm happy to repeat anything. But the major again, I'll say, if somebody is asking, if there's a question, how does chatbot works? What do you know in a chatbot? What is important in chatbot? So this is the current state wherein you are defining for any chatbot what are your intents, what are your entities, and then you are building a NLU system. Okay, so that's the current state. Why I'm again and again saying current state now? Because things have started moving beyond that, because in AI and all these domains, what is happening is, once you start with one practice, then even building this training data is something people don't want to use it. Okay, very recently, a few months back, if you guys have seen Google, there was some conference from Google, and wherein those guys were showing the upcoming technologies, and one of the if you guys have seen that, so they were talking about one sorry, they're talking about one of the technology that they are coming up with, their Google bot, wherein a person was calling, and there was a robot, and he was looking to book an appointment for haircut, and it was literally able to understand everything. When it said, hey, I'm looking for an appointment, then it asked for what time, then he said 12, then bot checked something and told, hey, 12 is not available. Then it said, the user said maybe 2, then he said, okay, I have a slot at 1. So just see how much and that conversation can go any direction. Any direction means he can say, I don't want it, your price is too high, or he can talk about anything, what extra services you provide. You cannot just define those intent entity manually. I mean, there's definitely some limitation. It's like writing each and every rule of our life in a file, which is not that simple thing. So another aspect which is coming up is you need a lot of conversation history. And of course Google, I mean, who can have better data than Google? So they are capturing this data, and they said, I think since they're working on this problem since 10 years or something, so they are capturing that conversations. You need like maybe billions of conversations, if not million. So you need a lot of conversation, and all you need to do is you need to track and compare what is the best conversation you had, and then based over that conversation, what kind of response bot is giving. So that is another way. Rasa has some bit of support for that actually, but that is the actual chatbot conversation system maybe we'll have in future, wherein no training, nothing, based over our way of conversation. If I'm asking how are you doing, there can be possibly 100 or 200 different way of responding that question, because we all human give similar kind of answers. So the way it can actually look into and get you the responses. So that is next state of chatbots, wherein you are going to move away from intent and entities. Oh, right. I mean, so okay. So you need to understand actually what exactly you are trying to do. For example, I'll just for the sake of audience as well, the question is, what kind of hardware do you need? And Chandra is mentioning because these embedding can be very heavy, and maybe we need to work on GPUs rather than CPUs. Uh, there is a very famous and very hot embedding these days in market is called BERT from Google. So word embedding, first of all, what is a word embedding? It's a way representation of text. Just think it as a net of words, wherein you can have in a space where you can have distance between couple of terms. For example, if I pick Narendra Modi, then it will tell me BJP, Amit Shah, elections, this and that. Those are related words. Okay, and the importance of each and every word, so it gives you a lot of detail in a space for each and every possible word available in the market. Okay, so that's a kind of embedding, and it does a lot and lot of operations. You need to keep it in memory because you cannot like load it, and it's very very heavy in a lot of gigabyte thing, and a lot of processing is required. Mostly all of them are deep learning based. So now the question is, if you have, and why do you need it? That's also important question. For example, uh, you just want to say, can you open an account for me? Okay, or maybe the same question you have trained with Word account, or maybe somebody says, uh, I need a saving. I don't know. I cannot think of any other word, but this question can be said by different way. So how you are going to do those things without much training? So that's where BERT and all are required. So those embeddings are very handy when you don't want to put a lot of training data. So that's the bottom line. So for Rasa and all, for NLU, definitely it's good to have BERT based systems wherein entity extraction and all can be done through BERT, or text classification can be done through BERT. You'll get better performance. You'll have a more stable, robust model. And if that's the kind of requirement, maybe you need a lot of training data, or maybe you don't need training data at all. And also the kind of problem you are trying to solve. If you're trying to build a generic chatbot, maybe then you want to introduce something like BERT. And of course, if your chatbot is open-ended, which is having like Google kind of training data or Google kind of user base, then maybe you need to get into GPUs. Nowadays, even things are coming like TPUs, tensor flow processing units. So things are moving. So based on your requirement, you need that. But I'll suggest for learning, for beginning, even your laptop is good enough. That's what I'm doing. Rasa is good for even a basic kind of CPUs. I mean, eight core and all is good enough for now. But yeah, I mean, if you want to build a very robust, detailed system, then of course, good to have GPU and all. Okay, so what's going on here? Okay, so let me just train my model. So it will just start training, and I don't have like much of training data. It just contains a couple of them, and I will just when you ask a question, this system do with the question. Okay, I think looks like even my laptop is getting slower here. Okay, so this is done, and so once you train your model, I've just mentioned it to persist it in the models directory. So it has saved it in my models directory, and then I can test my model now. So for testing it, I am again just loading my model, and sorry guys, I think this is stuck or what. Okay, so say now I'm just loading my model and I'm testing it like with this statement, uh, find some cheap Italian restaurants for me in LA. Okay, and now it has classified intent is inform with a probability of 0.99, which is like 99% probability, and entities it has extracted here are LO, LO as like low, which is your cheap, and the confidence is 63%, and it has used synonym mapper because cheap has been synonymous of LO. It has extracted Italian here as a cuisine with a confidence of 94%. But interestingly, it did not extracted LA, okay, which was a location. So it could not understand LA as a location here. That's where maybe embeddings, BERT, word2vec, or whatever you want to use can helpful here to tell LA is also a location because those embedding contain all sort of information. That's one way. Another way is to provide more training data so that it can understand LA can also be a location. Maybe if I try to experiment, find some cheap Italian restaurant for me in LA city, then maybe it able to extract it because then it will have more contextual information to understand LA is a city. Okay, but the reason for showing this example is yes, these systems are not foolproof. You need to provide a lot of training data. That's the problem. Or you can have list based lookup as well for entities if you know your entities are risk limited. And that's how all those banks and all are working right now. But training data can be a difficult thing at some point of time. Okay, and now it has all the classification thing, always classify into all the classes and give score to each of the class. And you can see it's very confident. This is inform class with a score of 99%, and rest of them are like very minimal. Okay, guys. So yeah, that's how your NLU thing works. Now, I'll just move ahead. Maybe I'll just look here if there is any questions. Yeah, I think we can try different scenarios here. It should have been worked. Maybe okay. Let's try to work. Let's try to fix it first. Okay, I'll try. Maybe it should understand LA as this. Not yet. Not yet. And not yet. And I'll tell you the problem, because the kind of embedding and the kind of model we've used, which mostly looks for exact words. So maybe if I'll just train with LA as a one of the training example, then it will start working. For example, uh, let me just see what all locations are here. And I think this system is only trained on south, north, west, and all. That's the reason. It is not looking for any city, state, or anything at all. But this has been trained on all sort of different cuisines. So that will be interesting to see. Mm, 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 mm. Maybe I'll say, I don't know. So it has extracted Tamilian as a cuisine, interestingly. And I have not, I'm sure, because Tamilian is not a cuisine at all. And we haven't even trained it on that thing. So it's not like it always extract things which it's trained on. It can extract unseen values. But the way we have trained it is like we are only looking for east, west, and all for our location, and cuisine it can extract any. Okay, so yeah. Okay, let's move ahead. Given the time, I have to cover one more important thing here. So now, although I've started in a different way, but I'm coming back to now the overall template structure of a chatbot. So if you have to build a chatbot, you just need to think of all the possible scenarios. And maybe the very first thing you should define is this file called domain.yml, which covers the whole domain of chatbot. So now what is domain? So first of all, just think what all things you want your chatbot to understand. It can understand greet messages, it can understand affirmation, it can understand deny, it can understand inform is same as your restaurant search, it can understand your thank you thing, and it can understand for request information. Similarly, what all entities you want to handle, you want to handle location, information, number of people, price, and cuisine. Okay, and then you have to define what type of values it can take, because it can take a text or it can take a categorical values, which are like predefined set of things. So these are the textual information and actions. Okay, for each intent there has to be a response back. Okay, so we, for example, when user is greeting you, bot is supposed to greet back. When his user is saying goodbye, your bot is supposed to goodbye back. Okay. Similarly, when user is asking for do search, then it needs to do search. And utterance is like saying something, and saying something means how bot can say this. Whenever you are saying greet, it will always say hey there. You can always have, you can say namaste, vanakkam, or anything you want to have here, the way you want your bot to respond. So the language of your bot can be defined here. Okay. And you can have text like this, wherein it will say, okay, making a reservation for a restaurant for this price, this cuisine, this and that, so it understand your things. And you can have some user defined actions. I'll talk about it maybe after some time. I mean, let's just cover this first. Okay, so now once this has been defined, let me just run the code, then you guys will be able to understand this a bit more. Okay, so here I'm now training my model for conversations. So another thing now you need to define is how do you want to take your conversations. I'll just show you a small example, not to confuse you guys. And I'm sorry, jumping here and there, but there is a concept of stories. That is the way conversations happen. And this is for stock market because it will be a smaller example. When user is saying greet, bot, what should you do? You should utter greet back. If user is asking for open price, a bot should ask for ticker. When user is asking for open price with ticker, then it should perform this action and it should say final buy. Okay, so just think in a way. Suppose you want to book a restaurant. When user is saying, hey, can you book a restaurant for me, a cheap restaurant for me in south of the city, and I'm looking for Italian cuisine. So everything is there. So all bot need to do is just search restaurant. But if user is saying, hey, can you book a restaurant? Then user bot will see all the slots are empty. Then it should ask things one by one, for which location, which cuisine, how many people. So that's the way of writing a conversation. Do you do it manually? Not really. I'll just show now this concept of stories and how does it work. Okay, so now I have just defined, I've trained my model here. I'm not going to train it. It uses Keras and all, and it takes a lot of time. TensorFlow, using TensorFlow at the backend. You guys can just run it, and it just ready-made functions. But if I have to test this bot, let me just start it. Okay, so I'm now trained my bot on the stories, and it will load all everything, and uh, I've used 2 level of memory, so it can keep in mind like last 2 questions I've asked for, and based over my input, it will just take care and find the next possible course of action. Um, I mean, it depends actually, the scenario, the kind of problem you are looking for. Sequence to sequence may not be good way here because you are always looking for uh, LSTM based models because you need to have a memory. Okay, and LSTM always have a like long short term memory. So it's good to have because bot needs to remember what it has asked in the past. So I think for now, LSTM are like better options rather than any other system model. Sorry. Now let me just load my model and we will just play with it and we'll see how it is behaving. Just this is stuck actually. I maybe need to restart or what. I don't see what's the challenge here. Okay, meanwhile this is getting fixed. Let me just show you another thing that I just want to cover here, and that will help you to understand the whole course of chatbots. So, guys, I'm just gonna cover something called interactive learning, which will tell you how bot is behaving under the hood. So you'll get to see everything, so that it actually help you to join all the dots. So just 1 second, I'll just. So interactive learning is the concept wherein I'm going to start this bot in an interactive fashion, and we'll see how when we are asking a question, what is happening in the backend. Okay, so I'm just getting back to my finance bot, and I will just ask a question and we'll see how bot is interpreting that question and what all things it is doing in the backend for that. And Rasa also gives you a visualization of the conversation. We will also open it. Sorry about this, actually. I think my laptop is getting crazy. Okay, so just try to follow this what I'm showing here, and this is the tree that is going to follow along with the conversation. So what is happening here? Okay, so suppose I say hi. So if you just read it, your NLU model, which is your first step, classified hi with intent greet, and there are no entities. Is that correct? Yes. Hi is just a hi, there is no entities, of course. I'll say yes, it is correct. And now if you just look into this, it has started the bot, it has found hi, it has done utter greet. Now there can be like 4 possible actions that it can do. The bot wants to run utter greet. It wants to utter you back greet. Is that correct? I'll say yes. Okay. So bot has replied me, hey there, how may I help you? So this is like bot things and this is user thing. Okay. First of all, bot was just listening when I started. Then I said hi. Then bot has utter me back. How can I help you? Okay. Now I'll say I am looking for closing price. Okay, so now bot has classified this intent as a closing price intent, and there are no entities yet. Is this correct? Yes. So now look at the tree. So your conversation started with hi, utter greet, and now it went into this direction. Okay. Now bot wants to ask back ticker. It needs ticker information. Is this correct? I'll say yes, it is correct. So it started here looking for price. Now it is asking for ticker, which is correct. Yes. And I'll say maybe for Google. Now here bot has extracted Google out of this for Google statement, and my ticker is Google. Is this correct? Yes, that is correct. Okay, so now it is there action close price. The bot wants to run action close price. So some action it wants to call. Is this correct? Yes, that is correct. Okay. So now bot has went into some API that I have wrote in the backend, and it has extracted closing price for Google as of today, this time, 5:10, because it I think it's 12, but stock market doesn't work on Saturday, Sunday. So the latest price we have is for Friday, and the price is 1167. So that's how the bot wants to now restart. Everything is done, and it wants to restart. Okay. So maybe I'll say, okay, now this conversation is finished. It is asking, do you want to export this conversation? Maybe export and quit. Export stories. And I'll say yes. I'll say no. No. Okay, I think it was about to add that story here in my stories file. So if you just run through this whole process, it can create one conversational story for you. That's how this whole thing works. Uh, I'll just look into the questions and then I'll just show you a couple of other things. If you need a chatbot to change or activate a function in this system, how can we do it? If we need a chatbot to change or activate a function in the system. Oh, okay. So now all the questions that you have, just understand this. The major task of chatbot is to understand your language, extract intent and entities so that it knows what it needs to do next. If something is missing, it should ask user back. It is meant for conversation. Okay. It is not meant for doing anything. For doing anything, like I am fetching stock market prices here. For doing anything, you need to write your own code. Let me just show you this file now. What I mean by write my own code. So for example, if I just tell you, I am working on a project which can create Jira tickets for you. Okay. So chatbot job is to understand if I'm saying, can you create a Jira ticket for me, or how many Jiras are assigned to me? You can ask these kind of question, but its job is to understand your question. It will ask me back, whatever actually, what's your username, what is this, what is that, and then it will make a API call in the Jira. Okay, so that making that API call is something that you need to write because that is your system. So for example, uh, you can do actually anything. I mean, in Jira, if you want to maybe make a build in the Git, or you want to commit something, you want to get an update, you can do all those things. But there has to be an API in the backend that is going to do that. You can send an email, you can do whatever you want. For example, for this prices, I just wrote this code here. I used some API called time series. So I created this object. Then I'm calling this function, which takes a symbol as an input and gets the intraday prices. And this is the price I'm getting here. And I'm returning this price here. So this statement, closing price for this ticker as of today, this date is this much. And this function is for open price. Okay. So that method you have to write yourself. You can do whatever you want to do. You can even create us, you can even put your money in stock market, you can do whatever you want to do. But chatbot job is to understand language, do conversation, and call this action. Calling this action is something we have to control. Okay, guys, I think that's pretty much I also had to cover. uh, I mean, you guys can ask anything if you want to ask, even out of this chatbot thing. Uh, how does it helping? But as a because I've been working into industry and people who are aspiring data science and all, I always suggest couple of things, and that I will suggest again here. Those are like my closing comments. If you have seen lately, since last 1 or 2 years, if you see, there are a lot of new companies, startups coming up with the new domain of .ai. Okay, and most of these companies, what do they mean right now? AI means chatbots. A lot of companies I know are just working on chatbots. Chatbot is coming as a very new, brand new industry, I mean, preferred technology. So it's very important. It's very good technology to learn, to have in your resume. I'm sure it's definitely going to add a lot of value. So definitely build a couple of chatbots, learn how does it work. It's not, it's very easy thing. That's why I just picked up this topic, but it's going to help you a lot having chatbot as a skill in your resume. I believe every company is working into chatbots these days. Okay, so I mean, I can share those, I mean, artifacts with you guys. You can definitely look into it, and uh, just shoot your questions even after the session. Whatever you guys need, do share your feedback, or we can have more sessions if you guys need any more information in terms of NLP, NLU, or even regarding career and all. But yeah, chatbot definitely is one of them. It's always good too, because everybody is into data science, everybody is into machine learning. So we definitely need to be one step ahead. You guys need to learn in something new which make you different from the group. So chatbot is one of them. There can be a couple of other things, but yeah, chatbot is definitely one of the good skill to have at the moment. Okay, I think if some tutorials to follow on chatbot. So I'll say Rasa is the industry leader in open source technology stack. Rasa document is pretty good. Even I took a couple of examples from them. So they have already working examples there. So just get in there. Rasa wasn't that, I mean, wasn't that much famous, but very recently people have started writing about Rasa a lot. So you can find a lot of stuff on Rasa. So I think, yeah, how can we connect to you? Okay, I think GreyAtom can answer about that. How can you guys connect? But yeah, I think you can just share your feedback and we can definitely connect. Is DL getting preferred for NLP these days? Absolutely a lot. So, so one of the thing is, and then that's what I feel actually. Deep learning is very much, I mean, coming out of the skin nowadays, and people are going after it. And if you understand, deep learning is meant for wherein you need a lot of processing, you need a lot of power, and when and if you have to think of real life scenarios where you have to look for real life scenarios, it's always text or images. So deep learning is best meant for text and images. Not all the things you can do in text, but yes, I've been seeing this industry, and I know most of the work in industry is in the text NLP side, not on the actual numerical data. Because in industry, you never get data in the form of X and Y. You always get messy data, and you have to clean it up. So NLP is the thing where you need deep learning. Of course, image is the better use case according to me, but text definitely require a lot of embedding and DLs. If you want to build algorithm trading application. Oh yeah, I think, and this is one of my current projects or current delivery that I did. So we are building a lot of trading applications which can do, and lot of traders are using those applications because uh, trading is just one thing, but you also need a lot of information. Like current stock market prices is one of the reason why I just showed you. But you also need to know how Google is doing, how Google competitors are doing. If you have that kind of dashboard, you can have different chatbots which can answer you, because trader need to look into 10 different systems, then he makes a decision. Stock prices, current news, current social media things, current trend, who is acquiring what. So I mean, he needs a lot of things, then he make a decision. So it can help you to get you to there. Then because you can even embed Twitter API in the backend, show me latest tweets about Google. So you can have this kind of chatbot. Then you can have sentiment. Twitter can also give you sentiment. What are the negative tweets about Microsoft? You can get these kind of answers that will help. And of course, then you can do trade this much of money on this stock in this stock market. You can do those kind of things, of course. When do we use libraries like Spacy and Gensim? Spacy is for NLP functions. It gives a lot of NLP functionalities out of the box, like basic text pre-processing, part of speech tagging, or dependency parsing. So even NER, named entity recognizer, it gives out of box. It's having quite good models. Gensim is mainly used for word2vec, wherein you want to create your own embeddings. If you have say your own private data, and you want to create some sort of knowledge out of that, some embeddings, like you want to analyze your own data. Sometimes in your word, maybe like my name has an initial like ABC. So that kind of my personal knowledge can be built only using my own data. So if you don't want to use a generic embedding like BERT and all, or word2vec and all, then you can use Gensim to build your own embedding. Oh, yeah. I mean, how to integrate chatbot with a web application? I didn't cover that part, but the point was very simply, and maybe you guys take it as a next step if you are going to work on this. But the point was when you build and you start a chatbot, as I showed you this, there is this URL on which your chatbot is working. Okay, so this is the simple REST endpoint which is at the back end running up and running. You will just send a message and it will give you a response. So you have a REST endpoint, and I just uh, I just write some. I'm not good into this HTML and all though, but yeah, I just write those things, and all I need to do is I need to receive this text and send a response. That's all I'm doing here. Nothing much actually. I just wrote a Flask application. I'll share those code as well, but yeah, it just take a user response as a message and pass it to a chatbot and gives you answer. That's all. Nothing much fancy, because you have a REST endpoint. So I mean, as a developer, we always works on building a REST endpoints, and then it's a UI job to build a chatbot or whatever on top of it. Okay, guys, I think we are already like 2 minutes past the time. Uh, okay, thank you,
Anuj,
guys. I think
if you would like to extend it for like 5 minutes, or want others to like pop in any questions, we can wait. Or anyhow, if you wish to wrap up, I'm good with that as well.
I'm good actually. If you guys have any questions, please shoot.
So guys, please go ahead and we'll just keep it open for 2 more minutes and see if there are any last minute questions. You can definitely get in touch with Anuj over LinkedIn as well. Anuj, I think somebody was asking for your LinkedIn ID if you'd like to share.
Okay, yeah. Let me just ping my LinkedIn then here. I mean, if you'll just search for, you'll find me. So you guys can ask your questions or anything related to even your career, what to do, what not to do. I think I can definitely would love to help or give my suggestions.
I'm sure you're going to get a lot of requests today, Anuj.
Always welcome. Any examples of state-of-art implementation of chatbots? I told actually, I mean, if you'll see, every company is having a chatbot. I think HDFC Bank or all of those banks and all, they always have a on the right hand side bottom, you'll always see a this bot, and they are naming these bots. Alexa bot is a very nice example from Amazon. So all of these companies are coming up with a chatbots nowadays. And in US there is a uh, like Uber and all, there is a, even Uber and all, they also have a chatbot. Lyft, some of them even don't mention they are having a chatbot, but most of these people, they don't want to have customer care things and all. So wherever you have a thing of customer care, you can have a chatbot there. You can think of having a Airtel chatbot, which can, because there are very defined set of problems that they always need to follow, and those steps, if you can make your chatbot learn, it can handle those things. For text analytics, what criteria would for making a choice using DL and other libraries? Uh, so I am a, I, I am actually very oldies in text analytics and all. When I started even with Java. Even Python wasn't there. Forget deep learning and all. So uh, so it depends actually the type of problem you are trying to solve. Okay, that's how I put it. One aspect is definitely the volume of the data. If you have huge data, of course, you may need to get into deep learning. And I mean, if you have better processing, deep learning is giving better results these days for a lot of problems. But not every problem you can solve with deep learning. For example, and you have to think about that thing actually. For example, if classification is a problem, then maybe deep learning will do better because it has a lot of knowledge, a lot of embedding into it. But maybe a very specific example for it, maybe you have to extract, even those problems are now we are trying to solve through deep learning. For example, you have a maybe I'll take an example of you have maybe a shoe factory, and in that factory you are getting a lot of comments from users. So you want to extract maybe information regarding shoes, or negative things about shoes or positive things about shoes. So that kind of problem, which is very specific, where you have to mine data, then maybe you don't need, you cannot do from deep learning, because it's your own proprietary data and all, and you better know the things. So you have to think about the problem statement. A lot of problems you cannot just solve with deep learning. Deep learning is good for generic problems. Okay, how do we do the same in Java? uh, uh, I mean, if you are a Java guy, then uh, I mean, I used to do it because Python and all were not there, but I also need to switch into Python later on. But there are machine learning libraries in Java. Nobody's using them, although Veka was one of the famous. Most of the NLP packages were there in Java. Java is not meant for actually these kind of things. So I won't suggest to go by that route. And chatbots and all, they don't have support for Java and all. They gives you Java SDK and all if you want to use, but I'll still suggest get into Python and all is required.
So thank you so much for being such a nice audience, everyone. And thank you so much, Anuj.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome, congratulations. Thank you so much for watching this video end to end. On this particular channel, you will find everything that it takes to upskill you to become a data scientist. We have the 100% proven recipe. Check out the goodies over here, the workshops, the programs, and there's a number right here. Feel free to call me and I'll be very happy to help you with your journey in upskilling yourself and becoming a data scientist. Hit the subscribe button, click on the bell icon. Just make sure that if you like this particular video, don't forget to like it and follow us socially. I'll be there helping you out with how to make that transition happen for you.
Log on to GreyAtom's learning platform to unlock more content. Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for regular updates.